Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. Because every house has to have a foundation, it was laid strongly on my heart to start this podcast with a daily series. I am using the book, The Bible in 52 Weeks, which you can buy for men or for women. I invite you to read along with me. I'm in Genesis 9 through 12 today. I want to start with the summation here of kind of what is happening in these 4 chapters. We are rounding out Noah's story and bringing forward the fact that we're going now through his sons to populate and found all of the other nations of the earth. So we shift from Noah to Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And we pass through the Tower of Babel. Oh, what a great story. I would love to do a whole thing on the Tower of Babel, and there's definitely some things in there for our health that can be mined. But I have another thing that really stuck out for me that I want to discuss. But we moved through the Tower of Babel. We've got some more boring begats, but really the task here is to acquaint us with Noah, this really important person in our story, a man that was tuned in to God and really was able to walk with God in his own way, and went through a lot of trials to be able to be the person in which God founded the new covenant with all of men as his descendants. So we have to start with Noah again. This is a new kind of garden moment where we had Adam and Eve, and then that was wiped out. We had one person out of all of that, and now we're starting all over again with all of the begats and the boring who came from who and how many kids they had. This is something that I sort of glossed over and I never really read before, but it is Moses who's writing here, trying to get us from Noah down to Abram and Lot, which is going to be the next covenant that God establishes here on earth. And there has to be a continuity. We are tracing the line of all of these people, and we're also looking at how all of these people are the founders of all the different races of people and groups of people that are populating everywhere. We see here the first explanation as to why the Canaanites were cursed. We need to deal with that. Why is it that God seems to have it out and wants to give their land away? And we're starting to see little bits of that here. And the other thing that I pick out that I really want to go back and study is the issue of blood. This is the first time with Noah, once he gets off the ark, that God is saying to man, you can eat anything that moves on the earth now. So anything that has life in it, instead of just, I've given you all the plants and fruits. Now it's, I've given you everything that moves on the earth. It's a fascinating moment, I think, to be given the permission to eat the animals at this point after Noah has lived with them so closely and built a profound relationship with them. I think it speaks a little bit here to what we are, the care that we're supposed to have in eating the animals. We are not supposed to be detached from them. He spent over a year in close proximity with these animals. He would have developed great love and care for them. And that is, now he's going to eat them. And I think there was a lesson in there of how to look at the food that we are going to have to take the life of and to have a relationship first. But he talks about not eating blood, and that is something that we will see blood come in as important over and over and over again in the Bible. And it's definitely something that I think I'm going to do a word search on and probably share elsewhere, kind of what I'm finding in a different area. What really strikes me today from this reading has to do with God's compassion for what he asks us to do. So Noah got on this ark. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know how long it was going to be. And he watched everything get wiped from the earth. All life dies. I talked about this yesterday, but the crushing weight of responsibility and the terror and the fear that would be totally expected to happen for a human, the weight of responsibility of all of these animals that are on this boat and your family, and for everybody to be looking to him for an answer as to how long is this going to be. If you've ever been in a car ride with your family, when are we going to get there? When is this over? Why is it raining day in, day out? Why can't I get out? I want to go for a walk. I want to go somewhere else. Normal human stressors, along with existential stressors of, will I ever see land again? Am I stuck? Is this my world now? The PTSD of the next time a raindrop falls would be immense. Is this happening again? This is where that rainbow that God puts above in the sky, he specifically puts it there as a sign to Noah and his family that when it starts to rain, it won't be like last time. It's not going, I promise that I am not going to do that again. God keeps his promises. He told Noah and his family, I'm making a covenant with you and all of humanity that follows out of you and all of the animals and the ground that you walk on. I will not do that again. After you survive a year and more, where rain and water is a big deal, if you started to see it come out of the sky, I think it would stress you out. So the rainbow, God didn't need to do that. God could have just said, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore, and I'm God, believe me. God put the rainbow up there. It's beauty. We see that with the rain that was so traumatizing, that there is beauty after the rain. And the beauty is that God is keeping his promise here. I think that it's impossible for Noah to not have had survivor guilt. He had to have known his neighbors. He may not have loved them, but he must have known them. He must have had some sort of relationship where knowing that they're dead and he isn't. That survivor guilt, I think, feeds into the story here about where Noah becomes drunk. He becomes a drunk. I think it's certainly understandable that what he's been through, that he is struggling to cope. And there's a story here about how Ham is not compassionate, or Ham's son Canaan is not compassionate for Noah's drunkenness, and it causes a curse to come down through all of his descendants. Of course, then we've got the Canaanites here. It was a lack of compassion for the stress that was put on Noah and how he was dealing with it that I think brings this curse in place. I think it's really easy for us to read this like a long ago story and not put a human face on it. But if you lived through that kind of test and you had been asked to be the only human to survive and to take care of just a small number of humans in your family and then to repopulate the earth, the stressor on that is more than a human can bear. And I love about this that God is demonstrating that even though he doesn't have to, even though he's fully within his rights to demand what he demands from us humans, the rainbow and the covenant here that God gives and the story here about Noah not being treated with compassion says that we deserve to have grace and to have mercy on ourselves and on others that are struggling with things that may be too big for a human to handle. And it's a big nod to the fact that our health is not just about what we eat and how, whether or not we exercise. There's something bigger here that God is communicating to us about our health, and that we are bigger beings, body, mind, soul, strength. We're going to hear that again and again, but this is the first big nod to it. And it's really worth taking a moment and pondering. So I hope you're reading along, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really.